Hi, Middle Age Gamers. Welcome back to another episode of the Middle Age Gaming Podcast. Hopefully, I started that on time because I cannot see Adam today, but that is another story. And then I've just lost Antoine, so it's just looking at myself today. We have lots of news today. I just woke up, and you can imagine all the news starts with the letter X and not that horrible platform formerly called Twitter. No, Xbox. And that's going to lead us straight into today's story, which is Adam's story. Adam, take us away.
So my first story is going to be. Oh, hang on. Oh, not working out. Oh no! I don't know why. This is not all my hotkeys are not working. All right, so we're gonna go to. There we go. And okay, so my first story is going to be talking about all the Microsoft leaks that we've been having lately. So yeah, basically in short, what happened was we're not quite sure where these leaks have come from. A lot of people obviously have assumed that the FTC, somebody at the FTC leaked them. It does look like it was possibly somebody at the court that leaked them instead, though. And then, of course, recently Microsoft had their 38 terabytes of data was leaked. But this looks like maybe it's not related to that. This is a separate leak. So yeah, Microsoft's been having a pretty bad week of it. But yeah, we've got a whole bunch of new information. They have things on new Xbox iterations, which Antoine's going to talk about. They believe that the future is going to be non-physical, so physical discs are not in the future for what they believe. We got a roadmap for upcoming games, so they had games listed such as the Oblivion remaster, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be exclusive and is not going to be coming to the PlayStation definitely now, according to some of these leaks. We also have some new leaks on controllers, such as gyro controls and haptic feedback on their new controller, as well as a rechargeable and replaceable battery, which is going to make it seem a lot like the PlayStation DualSense. So it looks like they're taking a note from PlayStation there and adding haptics. And then a whole bunch of emails came out, and those emails have been probably quite the headache for Xbox. A lot of them come out and say things that don't paint Xbox in exactly the best light. For example, one of them, probably the one that's been circulating the most, is the one in which Phil Spencer basically talks about his desires to acquire Nintendo. So basically what he was saying, in short, is that acquiring Nintendo would be, as he sees it, a career moment. And, the quote is, "I honestly believe it's a good move for both companies. It's just taking a long time for Nintendo to see that their future exists off their own hardware. A long time," end quote. He also talks about how they have former board of directors from Microsoft who have been buying stock in Nintendo, and they feel that having these friends, allies, having stock in Nintendo would make it easier to get a buyout from Nintendo. It also talks about other companies that they considered buying out, such as Bandai Namco, Capcom, Konami, Square Enix, Take-Two Interactive, Ubisoft, Valve, WB Games. Valve is another one that they said was a pretty big. Valve and WB Games are two that they specifically said would be fairly big. And they also had emails where they were trying to reverse engineer the PlayStation 5 browser to try to see if they could get xCloud to work on a PlayStation and bypass, PlayStation entirely just by running xCloud through the browser. So yeah, quite a bit in there that I won't say damning, but it doesn't look good. But again, this is all corporate speak. Who knows how serious a lot of these things were? Some of this might have just been kind of, wishful thinking, and these are definitely not things that were meant to be exposed to the public. So, yeah, take it as you will. And it's also worth noting that looking at the dates of some of these things, for instance, Phil Spencer talking about wanting to acquire Nintendo is back from 2020. So, I mean, this is 3 years ago. So it's hard to say how much of these are still current feelings within the company, and how many of these are, things that that are no longer of a concern. For example, one of the things that one of the emails was Phil Spencer coming out and saying, he looked at the specs when the PlayStation 5 was announced, and he was talking about how he's not worried about it, how the Xbox just has better specs and their software is solid, and he was basically saying like the PS5 is of no concern to me. I'm sleeping easy. And of course, we know that just before Starfield came out, he said that that they're in third place and there's no conceivable way that they could overtake PlayStation and Nintendo. So obviously, some of these sentiments have changed. So, but yeah, lots of new information coming out.
Absolutely. And like you said, all of this is either leaks or rumors, or there's no official sources. So take everything with a grain of salt. Check different sources, different websites, because there's gonna be extrapolation everywhere. But it's still very interesting, right? There's no fire without smoke.
Yeah, it's fun to see what some of their thinking was behind closed doors. The Nintendo one, particularly, a lot of people are kind of speculating, like, what's Nintendo doing today after reading these leaks? And the general consensus is that Nintendo's probably just sitting there laughing, like, no, it's not gonna happen. But he is right in that acquiring Nintendo would be a career moment. I mean, that would be pretty defining. But yeah, saying that Nintendo's future, that for their own good, they should realize that their own future is off their own hardware is kind of an odd thing to say. It's bold.
Yeah.
It's bold. It's very bold.
Especially since they have their own niche, and that would be a very big monopoly. They would never pass through the FTC this time.
No, at this point, but again, this was before their acquisition of
Yes.
ABK. So, I mean, now there's almost no chance. But, I mean, back then, who knows? I mean, things might have been different. Yeah. Koreans.
I can add some color there.
Sure.
I think I read a story from I guess it was published 3 hours ago. The information was revealed because the court documents and Phil Spencer, I guess, admitted to this in an internal memo today or last night, I guess, that the internal documents were not redacted when they were supposed to be, which is why all this data was available. Apparently, this is what the article said. And then I guess Phil Spencer, the last night's, or I guess this morning for us here in Taiwan, last night's internal memo said, apologies, in Microsoft, they like to keep things secret, and as you know, a lot of this stuff is old, and that their plans have evolved. So I was like, oh, that's cool, and that's interesting. And I think the plans have evolved, but I think the Nintendo rumor, I think, has a lot more legs to it. Like something I found out, right? If you were reading the news this week or last week, like Elon Musk's unofficial biography came out, and in that biography, as everyone knows, right, he bought X, but he bought X because the previous founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, said, "Hey, yeah, you can use my shares to help you buy Twitter." And I can imagine somebody at Microsoft saying, "Yeah, hey, friend ABC, let's combine our shares and buy Nintendo." And I think that's entirely doable. And when it comes to the hardware part, I think that's true, right? The future of a lot of stuff is not going to be hardware, just because hardware is so expensive. There are much more important things than gaming consoles to be made with high-end CPUs and GPUs. Not to mention, right, you go back, NVIDIA made the original Nintendo Switch. It uses the Tegra. And NVIDIA now last quarter shipped, I think, 1 billion AI units, and they're not going to be making stuff for Switches anymore because, I mean, AI makes more money, honestly. So the future for Nintendo is definitely not their own hardware, not their own consoles. It's going to be some sort of cloud streaming solution. And you play it on your phone, or you play it on a tablet or something like that. And why make loss-leading hardware when you can just stream it all from the cloud at some point in the future?
You would need the internet infrastructure for it first. As we can see right now, we are struggling, even with.
But I mean, on an individual basis, you do, right? You could stream games from the internet to your mobile device. Antoine can, I can. Anyone in the developed world could do that.
I'm just saying, like, we're having trouble streaming just this video. I mean, I'm a bit chopped. I mean, that's part of probably my CPU, but like Korean can't see Antoine or I, so infrastructure needs to be there first.
I would argue it's there. I think it's just like, I think we argued about this before. I think the problem is that you serve the smallest population of the world, whereas the underdeveloped world, like pretty much all of Africa, South America, some of Southeast Asia, their internet is pretty terrible, and like that's the majority of the world, unfortunately. Or not to mention rural China, so and rural India. So I mean, all those people would not be able to play Switch games, which would suck.
That's what I'm saying. The infrastructure needs to be there.
Yes, but I mean, I can say, I mean, look at the Nintendo Switch 2, right? It's one Nintendo wanted it to come out, right? But they've run into hardware issue after hardware issue after hardware issue. And I think at that point, when you're contributing lots and lots of man hours and company hours, and you're paying people a salary to develop something, and engineers and suppliers, and you're buying all this stuff, and like, oh my God, no, we can't do this because we're missing this one component from TSMC in Taiwan, who can't do this because they are supplied, A17 chips for the iPhone 15, and that's their production. That's it. We're done. So it's I think it's going to come sooner than we think.
We'll see.
Probably technology moves faster than people are comfortable
Yes.
with.
Yeah. So I can't see you guys' faces to react to anything. So that's why there's going to be a lot of silences today. Right. All right, Antoine. Why don't you continue the Xbox theme?
Our Xbox, okay, fair enough. I was planning to continue on Intel, but let's do the Xbox. So again, I was planning to talk about the fact that yes, it's the leaked FTC documents, which happened due to the fact that, as you know, there has been a lot of talk between Microsoft and the FTC due to the purchase of Blizzard Activision. So the leak is originating from here. Apparently, that's not a rumor, but a fact. And there's plenty of documents which have been leaked, which shows, and it's very easy for you to find on internet, which shows all the details about the mid-gen device refresh, the as Adam talked, the new Xbox controller nicknamed Sibyl or Sibyl, I don't know how you pronounce that. You have all the launch timelines. So let's start with the refresh of Xbox Series X and X. As Adam said, and that's what's kind of worrying, I would say, but tell me what you think about it. All of the refresh and further console are digital only. No more slots for CDs, which I find a bit sad, but that would go, that's built, they build a lot upon the success of PlayStation experimentation with haptic feedback, on the pad, with their cheaper console with digital only. Apparently was quite successful. So now the new console would come out with more physical storage, a bit more connectivity, and all digital. So they would be lighter, nicer, and no CD. We can see on the leak, we can see the design of the new Xbox. They decided to move away from the fridge, and now you have some kind of cute little pod which look like a speaker.
The cylinder, yeah. They went from
They
went from the cube to a cylinder.
And it would be at $499. Again, all this. So they say that a lot of this information is old. Fair enough. Likely some of this information is old. But again, remember that it's something that they gave the FTC in the recent purchase. Can't be that old, right? So yeah, that's how it is. In terms of launch time, they were planning. So we're talking fiscal year here and not calendar year. So fiscal year of Microsoft and end of June. So fiscal year 24 is June 24, 2024. They were planning to launch their new pad end of May 2024 at the price of $70. And they were planning to launch the refresh of the current S and X series in August and October of 2024. So the smaller version, nicknamed Elwood, at 1 terabyte, launch as $300. which is Series S, sorry, and X, which nickname is Brooklyn at 2 TB, would launch at $499 end of October. So big plan for Microsoft next year. I don't know again if these timelines will be respected or if there's going to be some delay. But yeah, that's the original plan, at least from what we can see upon the leak. And yeah, that's pretty much it. After this, they will launch some new universal controller, and they were talking about not a refresh, but a brand new console coming 2028, but without much details on it. Just that there would be some light OS at $99. I really don't understand what it means, but they were saying that they would rely way more heavily on the cloud, making it like a hybrid hardware cloud machine with a light software, maybe to reduce the cost of the machine itself. That's not very clear, but I don't know if you guys have more news or more insight on this.
So yeah, the hybrid thing is that a lot of people are concerned because if we remember back when the Xbox One launched, and they said the whole thing about how it has to basically be always online because you need to check in to verify your games or whatever. This would be it wouldn't be that, but it would require you to be connected online at all times because part of the processing power would be done online. Certain things from, I don't know exactly what it would be, but for examples that people have used in the past would be things like Sea of Thieves, where the weather is done on the cloud. So the weather conditions and kind of the ocean conditions are done on the cloud. And so all that processing is done online, and then your character and stuff that's all processed locally. So it would probably be something like that. But the concern is that if the system is built around this, then you would need to be online at all times. You would not be able to play offline because, or at least some games you would not be able to play offline because it wouldn't be able to process certain parts of the game without the internet. And so I know there are some people, especially people who are the same crowd that are really the people who enjoy buying physical, they like that collection aspect of it, are a little bit concerned with this kind of push to move everything online. As far as the upgrade goes, I'm a little bit confused by this. So isn't the current Xbox X Series $500 or is it $550? It's $500, isn't it?
Yes, they say that the price wouldn't change.
So this is what I don't understand. Why would you create a new Xbox that does not change the specs at all? It's the exact same specs, but you just remove the disk drive and it's the same price.
Yes.
Why bother? Like,
they say a couple of things: more connectivity, more in storage, in the console, and something about more more sustainability, meaning that you need less power to run your Xbox. That's your Xbox itself is made from recycled components. It's really a push to sustainability, or at least that's what the marketing push is for. That's basically it. But you're right, it's kind of the same console as before, but without the CD. So if you really want the CD, you have to buy the old console.
yeah, it just seems odd to me that they would really more memory. Okay, I get that. That makes a little more sense to me. But yeah. I mean, I would have thought that making it out of sustainable materials or something like that. I don't know. You're paying for sustainability. But yeah, it just seemed odd to me because I was like, okay, we're taking the basic Xbox and you're not getting any more processing power out of it. But we're taking away the disk drive, so we're taking away that option, but we're going to charge you the same price. It's not a cheaper option. That does seem odd to me. But if it's got more memory in it, I guess that makes sense.
It's like Rian said, or you said, technology moves so fast that by next year you can put like a card with twice the memory would be same price or cheaper than what you had 2 years ago, right? So
Yeah, it just
internal
seemed.
memory,
Yeah, the
yeah, it
pricing just
doesn't make
seemed odd to
sense.
me. But I mean, otherwise, it
Yes.
seems cool. It seems like a great idea. Um,
To
yeah.
push for all digital.
That's the thing for me is I was thinking if they were going to push for an all digital Xbox, that made perfect sense. Yeah, Noble Cooper's over here. What's it like to have no internet? Yeah, well, sorry, you can't play your games today if you have no internet for whatever reason. If you live in my house and it's spotty at best, then sorry. But yeah. If it's the sustainability part, that's cool. Using less electricity, that's great. I like all that. But yeah, like for me, if I was going to look into an Xbox Series X, like for me, I don't think I would get an S personally. I'd probably just go for an X, right? But if I was looking for an X and I'm like, okay, I can get the basic one with a disc, or I can get a discless version. If I was going for the discless version, I would probably go for it because it would be cheaper. If it's the same price, I think personally for me, I would just go for the disc version.
Of course, same as what PlayStation did.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah, exactly. Because PlayStation had a discless version, but it was cheaper, and so that was an option. And I wanted the disc version, so I went for the more expensive model. But yeah, if I wanted the discless version, I would hope that it would be cheaper.
Yeah, because disc-like version, I mean, collector's edition are gonna have trouble with that, right?
Yeah.
You get the collector edition, but there's no CD in it. Just the jacket, but no CD.
Yeah, a lot of collector's editions now. What was it? Was it Armored Core? Or there was a game recently that they announced the collector's edition would not come with a disc; it would come with a code inside the box.
Yay!
Yeah. What do you think, Korean?
I think we should move on. Given the current time.
All right.
We're 20 minutes in, so I'm going to jump into my third story, which will be quick.
Third story.
My first story, I should say, because it is our third story. My third story is another Kickstarter game, which I backed, which I shouldn't have because I've been going wild in Kickstarter recently, but I couldn't because I like the first game I ever loved in this world was Civilization 1 in 1994 when I was 12 years old. The second game I ever loved was Command & Conquer in 1995. I remember I was visiting England for the first time and I went to Virgin Interactive and I picked up this game and I saw the like soldier with the glasses and the nuclear explosion glinting off the glasses. You'd remember the box cover art of the physical game of Command & Conquer back then. And I played that game and I played it. I don't know how I got away with it because my parents were pretty strict about playing games for an hour on the weekend, but I managed to play it for like 6 or 7 hours and I finished the single player campaign for the nod. And I was like, amazing. So, but ever since then, right, I've been wanting an RTS game. StarCraft were good. Warcraft 3, of course, amazing. But honestly, RTS has died. There have been games. Age of Empires 4 came out recently. Not recently, like a year and a half ago, that did really, really well, but then it's done, right? There's no Age of Empires tournaments. No one's playing it anymore. There's no replayability. And this is what the team behind Zerospace is trying to like sort of fix, right? So Zerospace is your typical RTS game. If you're looking at the page, right, just Google Zerospace, you'll find the Kickstarter. There's Zerospace on YouTube as well. It reminds you very much of StarCraft, right? And space RTSs in a sense, right? There was another space game called Grey Goo. There was another one which is like used for benchmarking PCs, but I won't talk about that. But so the highlights of the game are 13 main story missions, 14 hero loyalty missions, and 40 side story missions, right? Which is cool. 6 mercenary factions again, 14 heroes. So this game sort of blends the best of like MOBAs, blends the best of like hero MOBAs, kind of in a way. But it's just, honestly, it's beautiful. There's some cool functions. It's a lot more elevated than like the basic StarCraft of you have your StarCraft Marine, go there, shoot. And that's all the Marines can do. Like your units have multiple functionalities. But I guess to me, the selling point of this game is that single player, independent studio made by a lot of people who have done this kind of stuff before, people who have played these kind of games. And I mean, the thing that I don't like. I can't micro anymore, right? So if you're new to gaming, micro means like the number of times you can click your mouse, and it's like some people have like I forgot the acronym again. Adam will probably remind me a bit later. Where some people like 160, 180, and you can click multiple times around the map and do things very fast. But I just want to play an RTS, play a single player campaign, struggle a little bit, like 10% struggle, and then finish it and be done. I'm like, that was a good game. And that's it, right? And play the campaigns and be like, okay, that was a good 35, 50, 60, $70. If you missed out the Kickstarter, it was $35 for the basic entry version of the game. But yeah, no, it's something I'm excited about. But unfortunately, as with most Kickstarters, the game will only come out in 2025, I believe. Yes, December 2025 is when I will actually get to play this. So, I mean, it was kind of perfect. I'll be 42 in December 2025. So my 42nd birthday present to myself being bought in 2023. But yeah, something to check out, something to keep an eye out. Sometimes studios like these release you an option on this called like late backer, or there's a whole bunch of platforms allow you to sort of get in as well. This will probably be an early access in Steam, so keep an eye out for that. But if you are missing RTSs and you just haven't found something that sort of clicks with you, this might be something to keep on your radar.
That's very good news, because the latest RTS I played was the Red Alert, was it? Like with Yuri's Revenge, something like this, which was never really finished. Adam, you don't seem to know. You know the one where
I know the Red Alert, so I don't know which one's which.
The latest one, I think it was when the Russian went back in time to delete Einstein from the lifetime, so that US are not as powerful as they should be. And so there's actually a third faction rising, which is Japan, coming with bots and big technological army, and you have this big fight between Empire of the Rising Sun, USSR, and not US but allies or something like this. And it was pretty cool, but somehow they never really finished updating it, and no mammoth tank or something.
So it was released in 2001, so not that late, not that early, I guess, recent, I should say.
22 years ago.
No. I'm not talking about the first Red Alert, right? The Yuri's
Revenge. It's Red Alert 2, Yuri's Revenge, right? Not Red Alert 1.
Shit, that must be the remake I played then. Isn't there a remake which came out like 5 or 6 years ago? That's what I wrote.
Yuri's Revenge remake?
Yeah, 22 years is long enough to be born and graduate college.
So Antoine, you're referring to a fan-made remake.
Must have been.
Yeah. Because
it's not even official. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good, to be honest. It's just, starting to get a bit old. 22 years. Middle-aged gaming, people. Hey!
Crazy that 22 years feels like nothing at this point.
That's what happens, man. Oh my God, like yesterday's lunch feels like nothing, and I don't remember. All right, Adam, story number 2.
All right, so for story number 2 for me is so Cyberpunk basically is coming out and very soon. But if you want to get ready, Cyberpunk 2.0 patch actually comes out tomorrow, so September 21st, and Phantom Liberty comes out on the 26th. If you want to play it, CD Projekt Red highly recommends that you actually start a new game, because they say these gameplay changes have actually completely overhauled the game, and it's going to feel like a completely new game. So they do recommend playing again. I don't know how you're going to get through Cyberpunk 2077 in 5 days to get ready for Phantom Liberty, but that is their suggestion. I already have it installed on my PS5. I'm gonna, once it the patch drops, I'm gonna drop inside and kind of play around with it. So I'll probably be streaming that on Friday. But one of the things that they did say is that it does come with stream-friendly features, and one of them is the disable copyright music option. So if you are planning on streaming the game or creating content, they highly recommend that you turn on the disable copyright music option, because then you will not, or at least should not, be flagged for copywritten material being in your stream or in your content. So I think that's actually a really cool idea that they added that. And I would like to see more games do that, because streaming is getting, or has been for a while, quite large. So having that option that they basically say, hey, here's a safety net, so that while you're streaming, you don't need to worry about, getting flagged for copywritten material. I think that's actually a pretty smart idea. And yeah, I just figured if you are somebody who would like to stream or create content for Cyberpunk when Phantom Liberty comes out, that you should know about this.
Should not being the important word here, because I've seen content creator being demonetized for music they created themselves. So
Yes.
it can be quite random on YouTube. But that's, as you said,
Uh-oh. I'm sorry, people. We seem to have lost. I don't know why. But Riverside seems to have disconnected. Let me reconnect here. All right, we're going to bring this back up. I apologize for... You guys get to see my process of how I log in. Headphones join studio.
when internet is he's
I'm
coming
sorry.
back.
Yeah,
He's
no,
back.
I don't know. It just completely disconnected, and it said that Riverside, the web page, it said that the Riverside disconnected. I don't know what that was. My internet was running fine.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, you seeing that Korean can't see us. Maybe it is a Riverside issue.
Possibly. All right, shall I go on my second story? Previously
Sounds good.
first?
Yep.
All right, so I'm going on Korean's territory here, because I'm going to talk about CPU and Intel in particular. So I'm going to read my notes, because that's not really my cup of tea, but I'm sure that will be yours. So Intel's upcoming Raptor Lake refresh lineup will include... Sorry, my cat is scratching, just a second.
It's not Korean sneezing, it's the cat.
Now the cat is destroying my carpet. Thank you very much for interrupting me. So, where was I? Yes, Raptor Lake refresh lineup will include the 14th generation Intel Core i5 1460K, which is a 14-core 20-thread CPU with a slight performance increase compared to the previous generation. So the main thing, basically, you have to know if you want to refresh your CPU because you like tinkering with your box, and I perfectly get you. Your 14th generation i5 will have the same number of core and threads as the previous version. It has the same socket, so at least you can upgrade. The cat scratching ratio. Yeah. No, not through my jeans, through the carpet, but annoying enough. Sorry, replying to the chat. And don't forget to come chat with us. So the difference compared to the previous version, that turbo frequency will run 200 megahertz higher than the previous one. So the initial results that I saw, which are from end of August, so that's not that old, show an increase of performance from 3 to 6% faster. It's not excellent, but you have to wait for the final test to see. But considering we're basically using the second technology, that's pretty believable, right? I just don't have the price because that's a leak, actually. That should have been introduced. This and the Raptor Lake refresh CPU were expected to be unveiled at Intel Innovation 2023, which is end of September, so very soon now, and with sales starting in October. So keep an eye on it. They will also share details about Meteor Lake mobile processors featuring on-package LPDDR5X memory. If that's the sort of thing which interests you, check out the Intel event at the end of September and the sales in October. And I know that Krian is rather an AMD fan rather than Intel. So Krian, all yours, what do you think about this?
I think it's good. It's an interesting take. And like I was telling Antoine before the show, Intel was behind for a long time because they said, we are Intel, we have to make our processors. Whereas AMD said, we're AMD, we can design our processors and we'll have somebody like TSMC make them. And that's why Intel was able to grab so much market share since 20 years ago when they were super behind and Intel was like 93% of the CPU market. And now it's like much better. I think AMD is like 40 something percent. Intel still has a lead in terms of server processors, but they've come a long way. And I mean, looking at some of the things that Antoine's talked about, right? So this is going to support Thunderbolt 4, which is awesome. So if you don't know what Thunderbolt is, Thunderbolt is the faster version of USB 3. If you have a MacBook or any any sort of Mac computing device, it is absolutely like amazing. Like you're transferring large video files, right? Like if you're editing video, I mean, a 10 gigabyte file will take you like 3 or 4 seconds with Thunderbolt, whereas USB 3 it's slow, honestly. Like, I mean, that's where Apple sort of succeeded. So, I mean, Thunderbolt is the future. One of the cool things about like the processor as well is that it follows sort of modern CPU architecture design, whereas everything is separate. There's the GPU part, there's the CPU part, there's the thing that sort of handles memory. I want to get too into the weeds on all of this, but it's good. I mean, honestly, there are lots of people. I mean, even as an AMD fan, Intel is still like the best gaming CPU out there. But that's if you're purely gaming. If you're doing work and gaming, so like if you're like me and you're doing work at home 5-6 days a week, an Intel CPU is not going to be great for you, right? It is also like, whereas AMD's current CPUs use 5 nanometers, Intel is still behind in terms of size, so they're still bigger, which means more heat and more electricity usage as well. So, but no, if you're a gamer, this is definitely the choice for you going forward. Okay. I don't know
Yeah, you
what's
can't see our
happening.
faces.
Okay. Okay, then I'll move on to my second story, which is super quick, because I know a bunch of you have been Googling, how do you record footage on your iPhone? And I'm here to tell you, it is actually super, super simple. Not even your iPhone. If you have any sort of cell phone, Android 12 and up on the Android side, there should be a button. It should be called Screen Capture on Android. And you hit that button, they'll give you a countdown, and you can sort of capture your footage. So tying into what Adam and Antoine said, right, about being a creator, I saw a statistic yesterday that by 2025, the creator economy is expected to be $20 trillion. And if you can expect, I mean, that sounds like a large number, right? It's actually not. If you think of the top 10 creators in YouTube, I mean, they made like $1 trillion last year in 2022, right? So that's just YouTube, not including Facebook, not including blogs, not including Meta and Instagram and all that sort of stuff. So you can easily see that. So if you want to be a creator, if you want to start making content, I mean, if Antoine, Adam, and I can start making content, we're super old while they look young and I look old, you can get started now. And it's very easy. So going back to the point of today's like little short content, which is go to your settings, control center, hit the plus button. And actually, it's just you literally drag your phone down from the top right-hand corner of your iPhone. You'll see that little record button. You hit the button and you'll start to record, and then you're good, right? And then you can then email the footage to your device. It's a laptop or a computer desktop. Edit it, publish it on YouTube, and then you're set. Done. And that's also done with my story.
Yeah, I have an Android, a Samsung, and it has a similar thing where, yeah, it's just got a little button and it says, what does it say? Record screen, and then you press it and it's like, gives you a couple options, and then you do one and then just go ahead and record.
Yep. That's I remember from Android. So it's really like, you want to capture mobile gaming footage, and mobile gaming, as Adam's talked about lots of times in the podcast, is huge. You've got no excuse. Capture it. You don't even have to. Like, there are loads of people who just upload gaming footage with no commentary, and it works. So give it a go. All right, Adam, your third story.
Oh, sorry. Didn't realize my microphone was muted. I just wanted to say, if you are a content creator and you want to go on the mobile space, do, because remember that the golden age of our channel was when Phil was doing mobile game on Lord of the Rings. That's where we got 900 plus subscribers. I don't know how many view times. It was crazy. And on top of this, he also got the sponsoring with BlueStacks. So there's a big opening over there. So if you find a way to create content with mobile game, go ahead. I think that's the future because you have massive amount of streamers and YouTubers on, let's say, classic PC games, streaming PC games. It's not that popular on mobile. I think it's way more popular in Asia because you can see in BlueStack they pay way more for Asian country compared to Western. It will come to Western. So if you want to go ahead of the wave, maybe we should do that. I don't know, but if you want to go ahead of the wave and stream your mobile games, that could be a good a good entry into the streaming world.
True. All right.
Go ahead, Adam.
Okay. So I am going to be talking about Armored Core because you guys are still doing searches on it, and it seems to be a very important thing to you guys. Important thing to me too. So basically today I'm going to be talking a little bit about S ranks. I recently platinumed the game, so I got S ranks in every mission, and I will tell you it's not easy for certain missions because it's not really clear what you need to do to get those S ranks. So basically, if you want to get an S rank in Armored Core missions, the number one thing you're going to want to do is do the mission fast. Speed is going to be the number one factor. However, it's not always going to be the only factor. Sometimes you're going to need to consider things like damage received. For me personally, it feels like if I don't use healing, the repair drones, then I typically do better than if I do. I don't know if that's actually a factor or not, but if you can take less damage, you're typically going to be doing better. But even then, it's not always guaranteed that you're going to be getting those S ranks. Sometimes you need to make a certain amount of money. So, check at the end of your mission to see how much money you're spending on repairs and how much money you are spending on ammunition. And sometimes you have to hit a certain threshold of profit in order to get those S ranks as well. Sometimes you need to kill specific enemies to do it, and it doesn't tell you that. Typically, the enemies you're going to want to be looking out for are the enemies that, when defeated, the game kind of slows down and kind of goes into a slow motion thing. These are typically the enemies that would give you the battle logs when defeated. Sometimes you need to take out 1 or 2 or even 3 of those guys throughout the mission if you want to get an S rank. You can beat the mission really fast, almost no damage, but you just didn't take out those bigger enemies because you just skipped them to get that speed, and that can actually cost you. So sometimes you do need to focus on some of those kind of bigger enemies. And the last one is obvious. It's going to be special requirements. There are certain missions where you have to maybe defend something or, prevent people from taking out like a missile before it launches. Typically, if you have something like that, it should be pretty obvious that you don't want this thing to, be destroyed. So, you might have to keep it above a certain threshold. Like, you need to keep it above 75% health. If there are multiple of them in the map, typically it doesn't matter how much damage any particular one takes. You just have to make sure that all of them are, surviving to the end. For example, there's one where you have to defend an area. There's basically the building itself, and the building has a shield. If the shield goes down, you can't get an S rank. You have to, protect it before the shield goes down. So those are kind of the things you need to look out for if you want to be S ranks. Number 1 is speed. Number 2 is, how much money you're spending. Usually your biggest cost is going to be your damage taken. Number 3 is looking for specific enemies that need to be taken out. And number 4 are any kind of special requirements. To my knowledge, the amount of money you're spending on ammunition only really impacts how much money you have at the end. So don't really worry about that one. You shouldn't have too much trouble with it because obviously the more expensive ammunition is going to be helping you complete the level faster because you're doing more damage. So don't worry too much about your ammunition costs, but your damage costs can be important. So that.
Thanks for the tips.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. All right, Antoine, on to you.
All right, so I had a little story about GameStop, which I found quite funny. And thanks to the content gap search, I realized that you guys don't know, or actually you are really, more than don't know, you really are looking for how to use a GameStop gift card. And you know what? I understand because it's not as easy as on Amazon. You go, you have this gift card stuff, you put your code, you got $100 onto it, and then you do whatever you want with it. On GetStuff.com, it does not work like this. It's very quick, very and easy to understand. So let's go with it. GameStop.com, you got your card. As every card, you have a pin to scratch in behind. You got your pin, right? You have to have an account on GameStop. So if you don't have, create one. Log into your account, go to buy whatever game you want to buy. And only once you're at the end of the process and proceed to checkout, when they ask for usually your credit card, here and there you can click on add a gift card and put the pin of your gift card. So that's not in the where you usually find it on the main menu on the first page and everything. No, that's at the very end when you have already chosen what you want to buy and you're already buying it. Apparently that's not very intuitive. So, and it is a content gap, so people are looking for it. So that's what it is. Very easy to know, very easy if you know how it works. So here you go. So that's my first story about GameStop. And the original story I had was about Super Mario RPG Remake, which gonna be released a month from now, November 17th. And we are all very used to pre-order bonuses, right? If you order, I don't know, Elder Scrolls 6, well, that's way in advance, right? But if you pre-order it, very likely you're gonna have a skin of a weapon, maybe a set of armor, something like this. But there's also shops, retailers like GameStop. They don't want you to buy through Amazon. They don't want you to buy through Best Buy, so they do their own pre-order. And I found it cute, really. The pre-order for the Super Mario RPG is a set of 6 pins. Like the badges that you pin to your chest. That's basically it. So I don't know if you find it a very compelling gift that you would go to GameStop to buy it. Maybe if you have a gift card, maybe you can use it with this. But if you would go for this rather than trying to find a cheaper deal with Amazon or Best Buy or other things, I found it cute, but the reviews are very mixed. Like, are they really trying to attract us with that? Thank you, I guess. Would you go to GameStop just to get your pins, your badges?
We don't even have GameStop here in Taiwan, so that's a non-issue.
So imagine anything. For France, I would have say Micromania. I don't know what kind of shop you have over there, but imagine your local branch. Do they do like this? Do they do little pre-order things? Because I don't think Micromania does in France. They don't give you pre-order. So at least GameStop give you a pre-order gift, which is nice. At least they do it. I haven't seen it in France, but I don't know. Do they do it in Taiwan? Are you using?
You know what?
Where do you buy your games? I mean, apart from Steam, of course.
I'm trying to think. All the game stores that I go to here are like mom and pop shops. I can't think of any like big gaming chains here. I mean, I don't know. Korean, can you think of any?
So, I mean, yes, I can say, well, I can think of chains, but I know I have pre-ordered stuff in Taiwan, and I've gotten stuff like the last time would have been Animal Crossing on the Switch. And I got a book, and I got like an Animal Crossing, like a cloth to like clean your Switch and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I like physical stuff as I get older, despite me being a big proponent of all digital stuff early on in the podcast. It's you do get that sort of stuff here, but I think I'm not up to date with a lot of that stuff anymore. Like I have not gone to the actual store to buy a game since before COVID, so 2019, and I don't think I'll ever go. Like but at the same time, in Kickstarter, when I do see physical rewards and if the price differential is not too much, I'll definitely buy that because I don't mind waiting 2 years to get some stuff that I'll look at. And behind the green screen, you'll see a lot of the gaming stuff that I've gotten in boxes. That is the problem is if I move this green screen so far to the back that you guys just can't see it in detail, and if I push it so forward, it becomes a pain because this is also where I work, and I don't want to keep moving it, which is why this green screen is here. But yeah, no, to answer Antoine's question, yeah, they do pre-order stuff here in Taiwan. it's not as common as it used to be before. But yeah, no, I think for a certain age group, I think it just becomes like a non-starter.
I pretty much only go into the stores for peripherals days. Like if I need a controller, or some kind of component for a controller.
So even Adam's more social than me. I don't even buy anything in the store. I go to Carrefour. I shop online at Carrefour. I haven't been to Carrefour in years as well. Everything comes to my house now.
Oh, I love going to the
My
store. I love
neighbors-
seeing all the stuff they got. You know, they got some cool stuff sometimes.
It's cool, but it just saves time when everything comes to your house. But then you get my neighbors always give me side eye, like, you just wasted $100, $3 in shipping to your house. Oh my God, that's 浪费钱. So
I like the comment we get in the chat. GameStop is legend for trading 80 games and your own car, and they'll still only give you 14.35.
so I remember that from living in America back in the day of trading and stuff. That was a shame. But I wish we had GameStop here because they have lots of like cool toys and discounts and models and stuff and things I'd like to sort of add to the collection.
Yeah, I saw
These
this
mom and pop
meme.
stores, man, they got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
I saw this meme of the gamer going into a shop and the vendor is like, so what are you here for? I'm here to buy a game. And the guy is looking at him. No, seriously, what are you here for?
Nice. Then is it my story next?
Yes, the last one of the day.
Yes, I will skip to I'll skip to my fourth story, which is the Disney Dreamlight Valley story. No
All right, go
problem.
ahead. I'll get it.
Okay, cool. So, as you know, I was disappointed by Palia, just because it was too much of an MMO for me and too much thinking. I'm sorry, you suck, Palia. But no, I guess you suck a little bit, not that much. But yeah, no, Dreamlight Valley is on my list. Like, I've gotten so old where I have to keep a list of things to remind myself what to play next. So Palia is number one on that list, because otherwise I'm like, okay, what should I play? And I just end up wasting so much time. So Disney's Dreamlight Valley, for those of you who don't remember, is like Stardew Valley. It's like Animal Crossing, except for Disney characters. I played this for like 40 hours when it first came out. It is a free-to-play game. You can buy like a starter bundle, which just offers a lot of cosmetic stuff, up to you. It is made, or it is sort of managed by one of these Chinese studios. I can't remember the name of it. But they have a new villain coming. And I mean, I'm not a big Disney person either, but it's just a beautiful game. Your kids would probably know more about this than I would, or maybe Antoine's kids would know more about this. Or maybe you guys would remember, but there's a new character coming. So in Disney's Dreamlight Valley, right, you play with villains and with good characters at the same time. I guess the opposite of a villain is a hero, right? You guys correct me. My English is horrible. I don't know anymore. So there's a new character coming, right? And it's Gaston. I don't remember where Gaston is from.
Beauty and the Beast.
Oh. I was going to say a bad word. We'll say fudge. Yes, so he's coming. So with his story and the way characters work in Disney's Dreamlight Valley is they'll have their own house and you need to build a house for them. And they have like a big quest series that will usually take you anywhere from 2 to 5 hours or so. So that's like extra content for you to play, stuff to do, not on top of the usual like this sort of game, farming, getting new furniture, earning more money, completing some of the other stuff that you might not have done before, building new things, sort of, creating your own economy in this game. So this is from stories from a day ago. So this has not released yet. I would imagine this will come out probably in about 2 weeks. In the story that I'm looking at, this is from Game Rant. There's not something that's like, there's no official date release, but it's just something to sort of keep an eye out on. And how you can actually see, if you guys remember when we talked about this in earlier episodes of the podcast, is there's a castle, and in the castle, this leads you to different realms, like the Ratatouille realm with the cooking, which is what I remember. There's the Moana realm, where you get to see the Rock and the lady who plays Moana in the movie. If you're looking for a fun game or a relaxing game, or if you haven't played Dreamlight Valley for a while, this could be something for you to sort of get back in and play it and do your gaming time, do all the story, stop playing, and then come back a few months later. So keep an eye out for that.
Please tell me there's a quest to give him 60 eggs.
Yes.
So it's not no details yet. This is all just this character's coming. Be excited about it. I guess you guys know more about it than I do. I don't remember anything about Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, he's got the whole song where he's talking about when he was young, he would eat 4 dozen eggs, and then now that he's grown, he eats 5 dozen eggs. So I'm like, please tell me that there's a quest to give him 60 eggs. Like,
How do you remember that? I mean, it's like
it's Disney.
This
How do you
song is
not remember the
fantastic.
songs? Come on,
Oh
man.
yeah.
I guess because I
Really good song, yeah.
That was a good song, yeah.
maybe because I stopped listening to music like quite a few years ago, and now I was never a person who listened to music for the words, so I guess maybe that's why I don't remember. I don't remember the movie though, but so we'll see.
Yeah. Then people do the math online, and they're like, how many eggs has Gaston eaten in his lifetime?
Lots.
Okay, gents, final sort of segment for today before we end up today's podcast. Unity, go.
Disappointing.
Ouch.
Okay,
Antoine.
perfect. That summed it up, and we're done. Podcast over.
Perfect.
Okay, let's go Antoine and then Adam, and then we'll end up the show. So Antoine, 60 seconds. What do you think about Unity?
Nothing. I haven't followed. I just saw there was some issue, and I really haven't followed the story. So, just that there was some kind of legal issue between Unity and whatever. So, if you refresh memory, what was this whole issue about?
Okay, then take it away, Adam, and then we'll come back to
So
Antoine.
what happens is, okay, so in it, Unity is an open source, or not open source, but it's basically a free engine that you can program your games in. But of course, if you create a game in Unity, then you have to pay licensing fees in order to have your game published. Well, Unity came out with a new policy basically saying that for every download of a game created in Unity, the publisher would be required to pay a fee to Unity over a certain amount. So I think it's like once you like after your first $100,000 or something like that, for every download you would have to pay some sort of licensing fee. However, it was per download, not per purchase, which means that if you were to say download a game if you were to buy a game like say Shadow Tactics on PlayStation and you download it and then, I deleted it and then later I wanted to download it again, that would mean that the creator of the game would have to pay the first time I downloaded and the second time I downloaded, even though I'd only bought the game once. And the other problem was, what about games like Unity games on things like Game Pass, where, people aren't buying the game, they just download it to try it, play it for 10 minutes, say it's not for me, and then download another game, which is also coincidentally in Unity. These could really, the costs could really add up. So they kind of came back out and they were like, well, they clarified, quote unquote, some things. And they said, for streaming services like Game Pass, the publisher or the creator of the games would not be responsible for that. Microsoft would be responsible for it. So whoever's running the service would be responsible for each download of the game. But then there's questions of what about things like streaming, like xCloud, where there's no downloading at all. But basically, the developers were saying this is just problematic. There's no way, this is just not sustainable. And several companies complained. A lot of them posted things online. What was it? The creators of what are they called? Monster something? I don't remember. But the creators of Cult of the Lamb said we are deleting our game on, I believe, January 1st, so that we don't have to pay out. So if you want to buy the game, buy it now, download it now, because it's not going to be around after that time, because we don't, feel that it's fair to have to pay every single time somebody downloads it. Of course, they were not being serious, but I think they were being half serious in a way. But yeah, so Unity basically came out and they said, well, we're going to relook at our policy and we're going to come back and we're going to, clarify a few things for you guys. So, just hold on, which to me and to a lot of people seems like it's one of those things where these companies will often have an idea of what they want to do. They know it's not going to be popular, so they overshoot. They do something that is extremely not popular, so then they can backtrack and make it seem like, okay, see, we're the good guys because, we're not going to go to that extreme, but it's still, it's still something that people would not have liked. It's just, it seems good relative to what they were suggesting. I think that's kind of the direction. Korean?
What do you think, Antoine?
Well, that will hurt mostly if you use Unity. That means you don't have money, right? That means you must have. You must mean, yeah, you're an independent studio, or maybe just a guy, doing a game by yourself, and that means that your margin is already quite slim. So now, if you have to pay double each time, like double or triple, or at each download rather than each purchase, that makes your business completely not viable. So you'll have to maybe do a cooperation, maybe go through people like Devolver, or this brand which publish indie games, but again they would publish a lot of Unity, so that's going to be a big issue for this brand. No, that's I
Yeah.
understand that Unity is trying to double all of a sudden, hey, we had a 50% increase year on year. Yeah, of course you do. you just change one word in your policy, and you get double the dollars. So I get where they come from, but that's just gonna raise a storm, to be polite. What kind of
Yeah.
storm? So yeah, no, it's gonna hurt the poor people trying to make games. So not fair.
One of the things they did say was that they badly worded it, and it wasn't going to be every download. It was only going to be the first download was going to be charged. But I think still a lot of these companies felt that it was kind of bad for them, because it used to be, you just kind of paid a licensing fee, but now it's going to be the more successful you are, basically the more money you pay. If you only release X amount of games and you're under that threshold, just pay the licensing fee, you're good. But once you cross that threshold, suddenly you're starting to owe a lot of money to Unity. So I think a lot of companies are still very unhappy. But the other problem is like, for instance, Aggro Crab, who are the guys who make Going Under, and they're making another Crab's Treasure, which is coming out soon. They've been very vocal about it, but they've also said, like, our entire team, we've been using Unity for so long now that that's what our team knows, and this is something that could be really devastating to us, because if we do have to switch to some other engine, we either have to retrain the entire team, or we have to hire new people that are experienced in these new engines. So they're like, this is a really difficult position for us to be in. So
unfortunately, there's some old engines, Unreal engines that must be quite cheap, and if you're already talented in Unity, I'm sure that after a couple of weeks of training, but it takes time to train yourself in a new engine, and time is not necessarily something that you have, especially if you are rushing to get quality games. So
plus, it would only apply to new projects. Any current projects are already in Unity. You'd either have to start over.
Of course.
Stuck in it.
So it's hurting their image to Unity, and it's definitely gonna hurt their future selves, because it's forcing people to move away from Unity, and I don't think that's a very good. So as you said, maybe that's just misspelled, or.
And as Noble Cooper says, this would really hurt free-to-play games. And if I remember correctly, is Genshin Impact made?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah, so for free-to-play games, even though you're not charging for the game, you would still need to pay Unity. So you need to make sure that you're getting more money out of whatever gacha elements, microtransactions.
Yeah, and just like, imagine every download. This typically is something you can download on your computer, on your mobile, on your phone. You can
download it 3 times. Console, mobile, and phone with cross save.
Phone and tablet, and you give it to your sister or to your or families playing, and
you're playing one game, but they have to pay out 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or more. Can't hear you.
Cool. Yeah.
He can't see us, so he was trying to see if we were done or not.
No. Actually, surprisingly enough, you guys have come back interview right at the end of the show, which is kind of useless. So anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in. Let us know what you thought about Unity, about Xbox. Are you going to buy a new Xbox console in 2028 when it comes out? Are you a digital only person like myself, so you're a mix of both, or do you miss physical discs, or are you a hypocrite like I also am because I like physical and I like digital as well, but it's all good at the end of the day. Comment, tell us know, where did you watch this? I would love to know. We know a lot of you are commenting on Instagram recently. So where do you watch our content on so we can know where to focus on? Because there's also Twitter as well, where we're getting a lot of views these days. So that would be really interesting. And with that, stay tuned for the same podcast next week with the same three guys. And let us know what you think. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Later.